sound. When the work week's done and the weekend rolls round, everybody knows where I can be found. I'll be fishing all night and day.
Hey guys, thank you once again for tuning into Fishing Long Island. On today's video, we are going to go over the 6 fluke rigs that I feel are the best must-have rigs for the Long Island fishing, from here to Montauk, all the way up to Nantucket Shoals too, all in that area. These 6 rigs I'm going to show you, they will always be on my boat, a total must-have. And I feel, my opinion, that these rigs work the best for catching fluke in our area. From small ones to 10-pounders, you're going to get them on these rigs. So with that being said, I'm going to go to each rig. We're going to start off with 1 all the way through 6. We're going to talk about the rigs, how to use them, how to tip them, and we'll go from there. And with that being said, let's get out there, let's get it done. Okay, so the first rig I'm going to talk about is the simple Backwater jig rig. It's a simple little, this is the poison tail. This, I believe, is a 1 ounce in the blue and white, okay? This rig is always on the boat. This rig could be fished either spinning or conventional, ultralight rods, anywhere from 10 to 20 pound test. Simple rig, you're going to bounce on the bottom. You could tip this rig off with gulp, or as I have on this one, is the bait fuel, which works great. These 2 colors match up awesome. This spring I did a trip with the guys from Bait Fuel, and it outfished every rig on the boat, including the gulp. So this color right here is a killer. Again, this rig was also used up in Nantucket Shoals, and again, crushed the fluke. Very simple rig. You could tip it with a spearing if you want, or you could fish it just like this. You could also have a little additive for it. You could pour this on it, give it a little extra juice, a little extra scent, and work it from there. And the way I work this rig is simply get it to the bottom and just start rapidly jigging it up and down. And then once in a while, give it a nice lift and get that tail to flutter. And when you feel the bait, just give it a second. A lot of times I'll just hand the bow to tip to the fish and then set up on it. Great rig, probably one of the best rigs around here. Dominic Lamano makes these. This is the Poison Tail, and by Backwater Baits. Great rig. Let me put that up there so you guys can see it. Probably one of the best fluke rigs I think of is right here. And we'll talk more about these rigs in a little bit. Okay, and that's the Poison Tail. All right, let's go on to rig number 2. Okay, my second best rig that I like, that I have on the boat. Again, this is another poison style rig, but there's something I want to show you about this one. So with this rig, we take 2 lighter weight poison tails, as you can see. Okay, and it's a simple high-low with a little bit of an exaggerated loop. Okay, the top one I have a little higher. You can see it's a little bit longer, the top one. Okay, to a swivel. And this is just, I think this was 30-pound test. Basic leader material I have these rigs on. Not fluorocarbon, just straight mono. Now, something you have to be careful for. These are not by Backwater Baits. These are just another company that's making poison tails. But here's something you need to look for when buying these baits. You want to make sure they don't have the rubber bands like that one does. Okay? That's good for a few minutes until the fish hits it. These rubber bands will pull, they will break, and these little pieces of this, I guess it's a mylar, not mylar, this rubber material, silicone material, will start coming out and falling off. Now, with Dominic's rigs, so check this out. This is the rig we were talking about, the first one. So let me get to that and you can see. Now, Dominic's rigs are all stainless wire twisted. It's not coming off. All these silicone skirts, they will stay on there, fluke after fluke. Of course, bluefish will bite them, but you know, anything the bluefish is going to bite through, but they will not come off from fluke pulling on them. It's all stainless steel wrapped. So I'm not sure if you could see that in this camera. Very, very important when choosing a rig. Here's another rig. They look great, great color. Everything's the same, but there's a rubber band. Simple rubber band. That's all it is holding these nylon teasers on. Okay, so look for that when buying these rigs. Always make sure you get the one with the stainless wire wrapping so they don't fall off. But with that being said, this is a great rig in the bay, in the ocean. Also, you got to be careful using it around the wrecks because it is an expensive rig. If you lose it, you get it caught, you're going to drop a lot of money. But a simple rig, 2 ounce, 3 ounce sinker, whatever you may need on the bottom. Pop it down there. Again, tip these with gulp. You could tip them with bait. Great bait is sand shark. You could take sand shark and strip them out. Excellent bait, sea robins, anything. Fluke belly, porgy, fluke bunker strips, peanut bunkers you could put on here. And again, your gulps, your swimming mullets, and also your grub style. You know, when I talk about grub style, this is a gulp grub style. If you could see that. And again, this is a grub style jig as well. This rig is simple, same thing, drop it to the bottom. I like to give a little extra slack, so it's kind of like that in the water. And again, just bounce, 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 bounce. Make those silicone skirts work for you. Get that bite, give it a second, set up on it. Awesome rig to have. Again, around structure, it's a little costly when you start losing these rigs, when they get caught in the bottom. You know, each one of those things, let's just say, $4 a piece, plus your sinker, your swivel, and you're talking about a $10 to $15 rig to lose. But this is my number 2 choice. Excellent rig, and awesome on the boat. You can also use these from the surf too, casting, and that you can see how they are, and there's 2 of those. Again, it's a high-low rig with 2 of the poison tails on. And that's rig number 2. All right, let's go to rig number 3, and we'll talk about that one in a minute. All right, so now we're going to talk about rig number 3 that I like to use. And that rig is the simple bucktail rig. This is a 3-ounce ball jig. I would use this mostly in the ocean with some bucktail on it and some mylar, little teaser. If you can see that shining in the camera. This would be rig number 3. Now, these rigs come in all sorts of styles, manufacturers. There's the spro heads, there's the ball heads, there's round heads. This happens to be a really good one I like to use all the time. Nice light one. This would be a bay one. If you can see that one. Okay, again, tip this with gulp, tip this with Z-mans. You can tip, these are the Z-mans. Now, these are also the fish bodies on these ones. If you can see that, like long fish with a paddle tail. These work excellent as well. And of course, you have the bait fuels. Tip that on there. Also, when you're using these grub style rigs or any of these gulp style baits, make sure everything is straight. You don't want anything curved up, facing the opposite way. I remember one guy would put these on and the tail would be facing forward. It made no sense to me. I don't even know how he caught fish on them. But you want everything to be streamlined. Like, where's that other one? You can see how this is all streamlined, all straight. Nothing's twisted. Everything's perfectly straight. Very important with that. You want to make sure that's like that. So just a simple bucktail jig. Again, you could even do straight bait on these if you wanted to. But most people obviously are going to put it with the, the synthetic baits, the gulps and all that other stuff. Great rig. Tip it with meat if you want. You could do, again, sea rob and dogfish on here. Tip it with a spear in. You could do a simple squid and spearing on here if you want as well. They work great. Again, the same way of working it. Hit it to the bottom. Rapid jig and lift. Rapid jig and lift. Sit it for a second. Again, rapid jigging. Be careful around rocks and structure. You will get snagged. But the bucktail's a great rig. And that would be my rig number 3 on the boat. I forget the guy who makes these rigs. Which one? These are S&S bucktails. Awesome little bucktails. And that'll be rig number 3. And of course, then we have the bigger one on there, as you could see. That'd be rig number 3. I'm going to put that on the side. Let's go get rig number 4. All right, now rig number 4. Rig number 4 is probably going to be your cheapest of the rigs. So if you're using around structure and stuff, it's not going to cost you as much when you start losing rigs. But rig number 4, I love, works great, and it's very simple. It's just basically a jig head. Okay, a simple, plain, naked jig head. These are these are Z-Man products, as you can see from there. Here's one that's a little larger. Okay, it's also important to have these to lock the baits in. You can see this reversed lead they have in here that catches the bait, so you don't lose it. I don't know if that's coming in clear or not. You got the cheaper boxes if you want. These don't cost much. This comes probably like 3 or 4 in a pack on these brands. Okay, and basically with that, again, same thing. You could put the synthetics on it. Here's one with a paddle tail. This also works great for striped bass, back-based striped bass fishing. You can crush them on here, but it also works just as good for fluke, the paddle tails. Same thing, dropping it to the bottom. This is what heads. Let's see what we got here. This is a 3/4 ounce head on this one, as you could see. So a body, again, you could see everything streamlined and straight. There's no curve. It's not facing the opposite way like so. Okay, and you could always put some additives on there, squish it in there, and let it go for more scent when you're working it. Again, you could tip this with a bait if you wanted to. This I would do just a spearing, one spearing right through the eyes and nothing else on that rig. But that's a great, great rig that you're going to use. Light spin gear, again, 10-pound test braid, light spinning rods, and just work that along the bottom. Awesome, awesome little rig. And if you see the stripers come up, you can easily just take it, flip it out, and catch stripers on it just as quick as you can catch fluke on that as well. Awesome rig, a lot less expensive to use. Around structure, you're not losing as much money when you lose these rigs. Simple jig head, naked jig head, tipped with, any of those rubber plastic baits. Okay, this one actually happens to be a Z-Man on it. I believe this is a Z-Man. Yeah, this is a Z-Man that I have on this one, as you can see. That's a Z-Man. Again, you can put any of those grubs on there too. All right, and that's that. Nice simple lead head with a plastic bait. or grub style on that one. All right, let's get to the next one. Moving right along. Now we're going to talk about rig number 5. Rig number 5 is a simple high-low rig with mylar teasers. These rigs I didn't make. These are actually a store-bought one I just happen to have, so I just grabbed one to show you. I wouldn't do it this way personally. I would do a direct tie to my leader. I would put 15 feet of 30-pound test on my spinning rods attached to my braid, do my loops from there, and do a direct tie. That's how I like to fish it. These you can buy to anywhere. Any store will sell these. These are simple high-lows. Again, it's a store-bought. Also, what I would do is my loops would be a lot bigger. These are pretty short for my liking, but just wanted to show you what the rig looked like. This is a simple high-low. Again, sinker or bucktail on the bottom. More or less, I would go with a sinker instead of having 3 hooks on there. You have your 2 hooks, and then you're going to tip these with your gulps, and again, all you plastics. I'm going to keep repeating myself, being repetitious with that. But any synthetic baits on here would be great. Also, with these baits, you could go with the live baits, live peanut bunkers. You could do any strip baits. Again, your fluke bellies, your squids, your sea robins, your sand sharks. All those baits work great on here. With this rig, especially with these mylars, this uses a lot of action. So when you have that rig on the bottom, you're bouncing the hell out of it all day. Just bounce, 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 bounce. And what that's doing is those sun rays are coming down into the water column. These things are flashing like crazy. As you can see, I don't know if you can even see it on the camera with the light, all the flash on these things, and it totally attracts the fish. Sometimes what I'll do is even trim these. These are a little on the longer side, as you can see. I'll trim them down a little. They don't need to be that long. But the swimming mullet works really good on these rigs by gulp, and also any of those grub style jigs. And that's your high-low rig. Okay, here it is in pink mylar. Here's another one. This line also has memory because it's been wrapped up in my boat in little bags. That's why you can see it's all curled like that. Here's another one. These have a little bit longer of the drop loops, which I like. But here's one with white. Now this is white bucktail, tipped with some mylar in there. I'm not sure if you can see that one. You can see. Okay, and these are all 4.0 Gamakatsu hooks on these rigs. And I would basically do that the same way, either using 4.0 Gamakatsus or 4.0 bait holders. In the ocean, I'll go up to the 5.0 bait holders by Gamakatsu. They work great. The thing with the bait holders, it has those little jagged cuts. There's 2 of them on the back of the hooks. You have 2 little jagged cuts right there, and then that holds the baits a little bit stronger when you have them on there. Any of these baits will stick a little better. Got a little bit of metal, holds the bait on a little better, so it's not sliding off as the baits are getting hit. Too much coffee. All right, so back to this rig again. Get it on the bottom, bouncing it like crazy, and tipping it either with the fake baits or actual live meat. Works great. Wrap it bouncing, and then you're waiting for that fluke to strike. Great rig, works great. A lot of commercial guys will use these rigs too. And simple high-low with the mylar teasers. Okay, this is a bucktail mylar, and this is straight mylar teaser on this one. And that would be rig number 5 that I have. Again, like I said, I do a direct tie, which you could do. If you don't want, you could buy these rigs and just take your braid or your mono leader and just tie it right to your swivel. And simple, snap a rig off, tie a new one back on, and you're done with it. Okay, and this you're using sinkers. You don't want to use pyramid sinkers for this. Use your regular bank sinkers. The pyramid's mostly for the surf. You know, you need this thing just to drag around. You don't want that pyramid getting stuck in all the extra shit down there. All right, high-low rig. Now we're moving on to rig number 6. All right, so now we're going to talk about the 6th rig that I really like. This rig was made famous by John Skinner, or he might have even created this rig. I'm not sure. John, let me know. Did you create this rig? But it's a great rig. And this consists of a tsunami glass minnow, which I'll show you. That's what the packaging looks like. Okay. And on the bottom, you could put either a bucktail, tsunami silicone skirt jigs, multiple jigs you put on here, naked jig, whatever you like, you know. Again, back to the simple bucktails. You could also put a TA clip on the bottom of this rig, and I'll show you everything when I get to it. But let's talk about the rig first. So what this rig consists of is basically, I did this in a red mono so you guys could see it. I have a 3-ounce ball jig on the bottom with the, the hook, a naked one. Now what's nice about these tsunami jigs is look at how big that shank is. It's tremendous. You could put a huge oversized, 6-inch grub on here, and it's going to hold it. It's got the little piece to hold the baits in, plus it's got the collar right there. So once that bait slipped over, it's not going anywhere. And plus you got a very long shank on that hook. So it's really good for really getting those grub baits on there good. And again, you could put live bait on it as well, fresh bait, meat, whatever. From there, we go up a little bit, about 1.5 feet, I guess. And then we have your second part of the rig, which is your glass minnow. Again, these are all by Tsunami. You could see how big that hook is. It's a lot of shank there to get in there. Works excellent. Okay. Again, you dress that with your grub styles, your minnow styles, any type of rubber bait that you want, or again, if you want to do your meat rigs. Okay. And that's the glass minnow on there. I'm not sure the ounces on it. I did all loop knots, just try to get a little bit more natural, what do you call that? Maneuverability, whatever it is in the water, how it's flowing, natural flow, I guess we'll go with. Okay, so that's a glass minnow. And from there, you could do a direct tie right to your mono, to your braid. You know, you could pop that right on there and just all bright it in to your braid, or again, you could pop a swivel on there. Okay, this rig is, if you saw any of his videos, any video who works these rigs, John will work these rigs like crazy. Again, bouncing all over the place, getting that bite, giving it a second, and then just setting a hook on these fish. This rig works great everywhere. Again, it's an expensive rig. You got to be careful around the structure. It's not one of those cheaper rigs to use, but a definite deadly rig on Fluke, and you will get some monsters on this rig as well. Very simple to tie. Now, this was a dropper loop that I cut and let it hang. You could put it right to a dropper loop and through the eyes. You could also put a clip into it and clip different teaser rigs on there, on the upper one. The glass minnow works great. Again, this I just did a naked jig. If you had a TA clip, you could pop it off real quick. Pop a bucktail on there, you know, same rig. You could pop that on. Different ounces. If you're, you know, more current, you want to go to a 3, to a 4, to a 6, or go lighter to a 1 or a 2. The TA clips are great for doing that quick changeover. These are just loops that I put in there, quick loop knots. I'm not sure if you guys have seen it when I put up close. I'll check the video. Hopefully it's not too blurry when I pop that up to the camera. But that is rig number 6. Again, a very deadly rig. Works great. You could see it using any of John's videos, and fantastic little rig. And that, I guess we'll call that the Skinner rig. What else could we call it? Okay, and that's with the Tsunami glass minnow. Okay, and this is a Tsunami lure as well too. And this right here, as you can see, this is called the silicone skirt jig. Again, exaggerated shank on that hook for putting these baits on there, and they're going to stay. This is a glow. This works actually really good, this rig. That's basically all the rigs that I have today that I like to use. There are others. There's the spoon rigs. There's a typical straight traditional rig, you know, a 3-foot section of leader with a hook. Sometimes I'll put the little spins on it, the little floaty things, typical bait rigs. Those really, I wouldn't use any of the synthetics on that. I would go straight meat on those rigs for Fluke. Also, you could do double hooks. You know, you could have your main hook, a couple inches down, have a second hook. That's really good for using really big strip baits such as mackerel, bunkers. And when I talk about a big strip bait, I'm talking about a whole mackerel. You fillet it and you're getting 4 baits out of it. You're taking one fillet, slice it in half, and that's it. So out of one mackerel, 4 huge baits, long, streamlined. Again, you're only putting a hook through once on the top of the bait, and then a second hook once again. You're not going to twist it and turn and twist it and turn. There's no need for that, because the whole thing with fluke fishing is presentation. Presentation is key to catching fluke, and also the way that bait flutters in the water. You want that to be a nice flow, not some ball spinning. If you had that thing all balled up, would you eat it? I wouldn't. So now that, if that's a balled up bait, it just, I don't know what kind of friggin' action you're getting down there, but it's just a glob of shit. It's not going to work good. So streamline, bait presentation is key. So definitely one hook through the bait, even a whole squid. When you use a whole entire squid, say a big one like this, 2-hook rig, one hook, I believe it's the mantle, goes right through that, drop it down and put the other hook either right by the eyes of the head. I like to put the second hook into that head to hold that head on, because that's the first thing that comes off when these little 13-inch fluke hit it. You lose the head, then the bait to me is useless. So the second hook's going to go either through the eyes or right into the meat of the head of that squid. Again, you want it to be streamlined. You don't want the squid to be folded over like this, because it's not going to swim right. You want to have perfect presentation. Again, key, bait presentation. I can't stress it enough how important it is. So you're going to pop those hooks one time. You know, I tell people all the time on a boat, when you take that hook, it goes through, boop, one time, and that's it. You don't put it through, back, and next you know, you have the bait up like this, and it's nothing but a ball. It looks like shit in the water, and it's not going to catch the fish. So, with that being said, that was rig number 6. Guys, thank you so much for watching my videos. I really appreciate all the feedback. Comments are always welcome, and any questions you might have, you can always leave in the comment sections. And any other requests you have for videos, let me know, and I'll work my hardest to get them out for you. I answer all questions in the comments within the 24 hours. I try to answer everything. Again, thank you so much, and I'll catch you all in the next one.